Hollywood is always interested in new ideas, and we think this is a honey. This is a honey. This is a honey.
It's considered by many to be the most popular holiday film of all time. A lot of its popularity has been credited to the fact that it shines a light on the darker side of the holidays in general, and by now, 65 years after its release, everyone should know the story. Kid wants to travel the world, but dad dies, rises to the occasion, takes over the business, gets married, impacts lives, then soon wants to die, but is shown what life would be like without him, then wants to live again. Great film, check it out sometime, but that's not really what we're here to talk about today. Holiday Hysteria has taken a slight detour from 25 films everyone should see, and instead is looking at one that should be banished from the earth. A little known fact that most people are unaware of is that the film was actually remade in 1977, appropriately titled, It Happened One Christmas. The movie tries to retell the story of It's a Wonderful Life, which is still being worked in the TV syndicate at the time, but TV executives wanted to rush out a movie right away for the Christmas season, so with the help of Universal, they made that happen. And it quite so happens to make me sick. In fact, the movie was so bad, it was only shown once on national TV on December 11, 1977 as the ABC Sunday Night Movie, and again in selected areas of the country in 1978 and 1979. Since then, it hasn't returned to TV nor been released on VHS or DVD. Luckily enough, Holiday Hysteria managed to find a copy of a home-recorded version of the movie, so let's dissect this train wreck. Mary Hash, George's eventual wife in It's a Wonderful Life, is now Mary Bailey, played by that girl Marlo Thomas, who is now George's character from the film, and George Bailey is George Hash, played by Wayne Rogers, who is Mary's character from the original story. I haven't been able to find out anything about why there was this strange reversal in roles. It probably had something to do with either the original copyright issues with the original film, or maybe they just decided that Thomas was a better actor than Rogers. Whatever the reasoning, aside from making your head spin, it sets up a poor version of this film quite well. In fact, the only positive reason to see this film is for Orson Welles as Mr. Potter, or Barney Martin, Morty from Seinfeld, as Uncle Billy's alternative character, Uncle Willie. As the story starts, we see similarities that Mary is recovering from George's character, but yet George's character has a lot of the same characteristics that he had in the original film. An example of this would be Mary is now Harry's sister and has to save Harry from drowning, but yet George still works at Mr. Gower's. But Mary is the one that saves Mr. Gower from prison by seeing him pour the poison into the bottle. Why exactly does she need to be back there anyway? She doesn't work back there. Don't you think they made that label a little too obvious? Poison? Just because the film was made for TV, you don't have to assume that the audience is stupid. Aside from that, you have to ask, what is the pharmacist doing with a bottle of poison in the first place? You're just asking for trouble. It's assumed in the original film that George has a brief understanding of chemistry, and that's how he realizes that Mr. Gower has combined the wrong medication to make the medicine. But here, Mary is just some kid who sees big letters. It's very unrealistic. Anyhow, Mary is the one with the bond to Mr. Gower. She gets the suitcase so she can travel, but then stays home and dances with George, who's getting ready to go to some oil field or something. In fact, here's where you get to see your first bit of horrific acting from the flick. Remember in the original, seeing George and Mary get so close to the edge and then reverse it and then do it again? That was skill and that was acting. But here, it's just horrific to watch as the actors go slipping across the same foot and a half of floor space before bluntly falling into the pool. Then they walk home, see the house, make a wish, and then Mary's dad has a stroke. She misses her trip and instead takes over her father's business. In this alternative version, the years go by, and since George wasn't Harry's brother and didn't save his brother like in the original, he's cast off to war, writes back to Mary along with the rest of the members of the town, and we get the chance to see some wartime stock footage. What, did they run out of money here? The whole movie is in color, and then switches over to this stock footage? Whatever. Then, eventually, George is sent home after being injured. There are some weird scenes in this alternative version set up because of this reversal, like George's return to civilized life and later in an alternative universe version of him working at some garage as a mechanic. But a lot is the same too. Mary has a nervous breakdown and crashes her car and the horn goes off and it seems to last an eternity. Oh, is that horn still going? Yep. And you want to know why she crashes her car? 'Cause she was praying. Yeah, no trip to Martini's for this chick. Oh, wait a second. She goes to the bar after she crashes her car? Yeah, after. It makes sense in the original, cause George is pretty beaten up mentally, and then drinks, and then gets punched, and this causes him to wreck his car and head to the bridge. But instead, here, she crashes her car praying? After refusing eggnog of all drinks at the bar, she heads to the bridge and contemplates suicide. Then, Clara, not Clarence, hey, why not? You already reversed the role of one gender, falls through the ice instead of jumping into the water, and Mary hobbles down to the shoreline to save her. And listen to the realism in her cries to save Clara.
Paul! Paul! That's right. No!
Like I said, the acting is beyond weak.
We try to do better.
Mary goes through the whole if you were never born thing, and sees Pottersville, and realizes she's had a good life. And then the movie ends after the friends show up and give them money, which steals line for line from the original.
I busted the jukebox, I busted the jukebox. I wouldn't have a roof over my head if it wasn't for you, George.
I wouldn't have a roof over my head if it wasn't for you two people.
George, you got the pack of the all left out of it. I had to get them all out of bed, but I collected all my charge accounts.
To my big brother, George, the richest man in town.
To my big sister, Mary, the richest person in town.
One final note, could they get a more feminine actor for the role of Harry? I mean, this guy's supposed to be a war hero. He receives the Medal of Honor from the President, and this is what the film studio gives us? If you have a thing for bad movies, this should be on the top of your list to see. Thankfully, it's all but banished from the earth, and I'm glad that it only happened one Christmas.
We try to do better.